Yi packed his gear and stepped outside the shelter. Upon receiving orders, the nearby Volt Shadow Troop had already assembled in full. The Volt Shadow Troop now numbered 29 members. Accompanying them were Fatty Sue and Uncle Yu, along with members of the Tengu squad serving as instructors, over 30 personnel in total. Zhang Yi concisely outlined the mission. The southwest region has been seized by those scum from Brahma. We must retake the territory and slaughter every last one who has ever set foot there, leaving not a single one alive. The entire unit surged with excitement, flames burning in every pair of eyes. This wasn't merely the rage of confronting an external enemy, it was the long-simmering fire of battle. Since joining the Volt Shadow Troop, they had rapidly grown under their instructors' training. Coupled with the abundant material resources provided by Zhang Yi, they had now reached the level of elite investigation squad members, or even higher. The most formidable among them remained the veteran mutants, Lu Dehai, Xiao Honglian, Zhuge Qingting, Gao Tianwu, and Xing Tian. Each possessed strength on par with a captain. Long training had left them eager to prove themselves to Zhang Yi through actual combat. Is everyone ready? Zhang Yi turned to Bai Li Changqing, asking calmly. Not all of them had seen combat before. For some, this would be their first experience in a large-scale battle against mutants. Bai Li Changqing nodded firmly and declared loudly, "Rest assured, Supreme Excellency. I've drilled these men into true warriors. They possess exceptional combat skills. That's best. If they prove inadequate, their deaths will simply eliminate the unqualified." Zhang Yi remained utterly cold toward this matter. He had no use for incompetent subordinates. Zhang Yi immediately activated the dimensional gate, then started the snowmobile. He, Liang Yu, Uncle Yu, and Fatty Sue boarded the vehicle, while the others formed groups of 4. The 2 powerful logistical personnel, Yan Xinxin and Zhou Keir, entered Zhang Yi's shadow alongside Mu Yan. Once the dimensional gate opened, Zhang Yi drove the snowmobile through first. Snow combat vehicles followed one after another, swiftly vanishing from their original positions. A few dozen minutes later, they arrived at the highest snowy plateau in Huashu Kingdom. Vehicles raced across the snowy terrain. Zhang Yi left the vehicles for Su Fatty and the others while he soared into the air to investigate the situation in Sarah City. From the high altitude, aided by satellite systems, he gained a clear view of present-day Sarah City. It was evident that Brahma had come prepared to fully seize control of the southwest region. Large numbers of soldiers in Brahma military uniforms had already secured key fortresses, with flags symbolizing the 8 tribes planted everywhere. Zhang Yi didn't recognize those banners. In truth, they were the black flags exclusive to the Iksha sect and the Maharaga sect. Without an epsilon to hold the fort, the former resistance army, now the official army of the southwest region, had long been scattered. Large numbers of southwest region citizens were gathered together, forced into collective labor and production. Compared to the southwest region of old, everything seemed unchanged. It proved the old saying true: when a dynasty rises, the people suffer; when it falls, the people suffer. But Zhang Yi had no mind to ponder such complexities. He acted simply because he desired to, and possessed the means to do so. The southwest region is now fully occupied by the Brahmas, who have dispatched vast numbers of soldiers to control this vital city. Not only have they raised the banners of the Iksha and Maharaga, but they have also begun demolishing the temples of the Tantra, propagating their own doctrines. To thoroughly conquer a land, one must subjugate not only the body but also the mind. This means compelling the people of that land to change their beliefs in both cultural and religious spheres. Thus, after seizing the southwest region, the first act of the Brahmins was to impose military intimidation. The second was to force the people to abandon their faith. Upon the elevated platform, the former Tantra monks had been replaced by Brahmin faith monks delivering sermons. A monk clad in traditional Brahma attire and bare-chested, bellowed, "The Supreme Trimurti governs this world, bestowing all things upon humanity, allowing us to live in bliss. As their subjects, humans must devote themselves to pious asceticism to earn divine favor. Suffering in this world is finite. The more suffering you endure, the more fortunate you are, for only then will the gods notice you. At that moment, you may make any wish to the gods, and all your desires will be fulfilled. Health, wealth, women, cattle. All these things can be yours, provided you are willing to embrace suffering. Below, the snowy region's people listened with somewhat numb expressions. They were all followers of Tantric Buddhism, which shared deep roots with the Brahmanical sections. Thus, they had heard similar words countless times throughout their lives. Therefore, shifting their allegiance in matters of faith felt entirely natural. At its core, whether Tantric Buddhism or Brahmanism, both taught the masses to resign themselves to being beasts of burden, to endure hardship diligently, and then enjoy blessings in the next life. The numb people mechanically absorbed the proclamation from above. Life since the apocalypse had nearly erased their memory of the freedom inherent to being human. Only after the resistance army led by Luojua came to power did they briefly taste a life of freedom. Yet none could have imagined that light would fade so swiftly. Still, a spark can ignite burning fields. At the very least, the people now understood the need for reflection. Thus, when the Brahmin monk painted his rosy picture, not every soul was swayed. The monk continued his impassioned speech, his body now radiating a majestic glow. His voice took on an inexplicable, mesmerizing quality. This sound entered the people's ears, causing a peculiar tremor in their minds. Unconsciously, they began to imprint Brahma's teachings upon their hearts. These specialized propaganda workers were all individuals with extraordinary abilities. Supernatural powers simplified everything in this world. To ordinary people, those with exceptional abilities were like a dominant force striking from a higher dimension. The expressions in those people's eyes gradually turned numb, then fiery. One by one, they gazed reverently at the stage, hands pressed together in prayer, like tamed cattle or sheep. The preacher watched the scene with satisfaction, nodding approvingly. But just then, a voice suddenly sounded behind him. "Old helper, you're quite the brainwasher, aren't you?" The monk whipped around at the words. A bitterly cold storm suddenly formed behind him, a massive tornado carrying blizzards. The monk's pupils contracted violently. Before he could react, the massive ice storm instantly froze him solid into an ice sculpture. Two figures clad in combat suits appeared atop the platform. One had a round, slightly plump face, the other stood tall and burly, resembling a brown bear. Tianhai City. Marshal Tianpeng, Su Chunlei and Lu Wu, Yu Jiguang had descended upon this place. The surrounding Brahma soldiers, seeing this, immediately charged forward with vicious expressions. Many mutants also drew their weapons, intent on killing these two. A cold smile spread across Fatty Su's plump face. "In front of the boss, I'm just a deadbeat fatso. But here? You'll be calling me Marshal Tianpeng." He raised his hands high. A raging blizzard surged from behind him, unleashing massive tornadoes that hurtled toward the crowd. The chaotic blizzard instantly disrupted the entire venue, throwing the environment into utter disarray. Uncle Yu spread his arms wide, activating his armor. His exoskeleton armor was the heaviest in the entire sanctuary, bristling with an array of weapons across his frame. Now, after Liu Karen's modifications, his body was semi-mechanized. Beyond enhanced physical capabilities, his coordination with the exoskeleton armor had become seamless. ZZZZT. The armor plates on both arms instantly retracted, revealing hundreds of blackened holes. A torrent of blazing bullets erupted, sweeping across the entire venue in all directions. Uncle Yu's visual feed locked onto enemy positions, each bullet precisely targeting their locations to avoid harming the southwest region civilians present. The dense hail of bullets swept across the entire venue. The Brahma soldiers hadn't even regained their bearings before being riddled like sieves, their bodies repeatedly struck in place. Even clad in combat suits, they couldn't withstand Uncle Yu's assault at that moment. Those bullets were specifically designed for mutants, possessing formidable armor-piercing capabilities and the ability to partially negate psychic shields. Crucially, Uncle Yu's own supernatural abilities could be channeled through mechanical conduits fused into his blood vessels, amplifying his offensive power. Within mere moments, the combined efforts of Uncle Yu and Fatty Sue had slaughtered over 80% of the Brahma soldiers present. Some Brahma mutants had already stormed the elevated platform, their eyes blazing with murderous intent as they sought to kill Fatty Sue and Uncle Yu. Fatty Sue's eyes narrowed sharply. He swiftly swung his arms, causing vast glaciers to surge from beneath his feet. They coalesced into towering walls of ice and snow, trapping the mutants within. Then, with a forceful clench of his fist, the ice walls shattered explosively. The mutants trapped inside were instantly reduced to shards. The Brahma mutant charged onto the high platform, intent on slaying Uncle Yu and Fatty Sue. Little did he expect to face an even fiercer onslaught. Uncle Yu was a walking arsenal. Cannons strapped to his chest, waist, and shoulders unleashed a barrage that turned the platform into a symphony of relentless bombardment. Ah! The Brahma mutants' agonized screams echoed relentlessly. Uncle Yu's combat style was so brutal that every victim met his end in dozens of pieces. Die! Among the Brahman's mutants, masters naturally existed. One, his head wrapped in coils of cloth and wielding a fist blade, swiftly closed in on Uncle Yu in serpentine movements. A bone-chilling light, carrying immense supernatural, erupted from the blade as it slashed viciously toward Uncle Yu. The blinding light erupted with such immense energy that the entire platform trembled and collapsed. A formidable powerhouse with a staggering 9,700-point ability index. Uncle Yu merely lifted his head, casting a cold, dismissive glance his way. You didn't think I was weak in close combat, did you? The mecha existed solely to compensate for his weakness in ranged combat. Uncle Yu's true specialty, however, was enhancement. Snap! The mecha on his back opened, ejecting a black metal alloy combat sword that snapped into his palm. Facing the charging Brahma mutant, he swung the sword with both hands in a brutal downward strike. The combat sword collided with the fist sword, unleashing terrifying energy that instantly obliterated the entire elevated platform. Boom! The shockwave from the psychic collision swept outward, flinging thousands of bystanders like kites through the air. The Brahma mutant hadn't anticipated Uncle Yu's immense strength. A single collision turned his face pale, his right arm throbbing with excruciating pain. The fist blade was a weapon for assassination, and his ability focused on striking, not brute force collisions. Thus, this strike hurled him violently backward, his right arm snapping with a crack as the bone fractured. Seizing the moment, Fatty Sue gathered a ball of white energy in his palms before unleashing it in an instant. Ice will storm. His palms blossomed like flowers, releasing wave after wave of massive ice and snow. Yet these petals weren't delicate and beautiful, they were sharp, spiked formations. A sky-filling storm of ice spikes erupted from Fatty Sue's palms, unleashed in an inverted cone formation that engulfed the entire space where the Brahma mutant stood. Hanging midair, the Brahma mutant had no time to dodge and was instantly pierced by countless ice spikes. Thud! Thousands upon thousands of ice spikes densely pierced his body, penetrating his supernatural shield and combat suit, pinning his body to a distant, ruined building. Seeing their commanding officer fall in battle, the remaining Brahma mutants were overcome with terror, screaming as they tried to flee. But both Fatty Sue and Uncle Yu remembered Zhang Yi's order. Every single Brahmin who had set foot on Huashu Kingdom territory, not one would be spared. Think you can run? Not so fast. Uncle Yu activated the intelligent targeting system of his exoskeleton armor, locking onto every Brahmin mutant in the vicinity. Then, every firing port on his body activated simultaneously. Boom! Ammo erupted from his body like bursting fireworks, wave after wave, hurtling straight toward the fleeing Brahma mutants. Though small, the bullets possessed immense power. Upon striking the mutants, they exploded, tearing their bodies to shreds. In less than 3 minutes, the entire venue fell silent. Uncle Yu, smoke still rising from his body, smiled wryly and blew on his slightly heated firing ports. This feeling is truly satisfying. All the Brahmin soldiers were killed, while among the ordinary citizens below the stage, only a few suffered casualties from the battle's collateral damage. Most remained unharmed. Uncle Yu looked at them and shouted through the megaphone, "It's all over now." In another section, Xiao Honglian stood cloaked in her combat suit. Xiao Honglian drew a silver flask from her waist as she gulped down the liquid inside. Then she parted her crimson lips, and a colossal fire dragon erupted from her mouth. Whoosh, the immense flame struck the ground, forming a streaking torrent of fire that split into two, sweeping out from both sides. Flaming azure stream. The surging flames transformed into a towering wall of fire dozens of meters high, encircling the entire temple with breathtaking splendor. The Brahma mutants witnessing this scene immediately went on high alert. Enemy attack. Alarms blared as they spotted the woman approaching from afar. Dozens of soldiers instantly drew their guns and fired at Xiao Honglian. At that very moment, a streak of golden light shot forward, blocking Xiao Honglian's path. Gao Tianwu radiated golden light, resembling a golden statue in a Buddhist temple. A hail of bullets struck his body, clattering off without breaching his golden aura. Meanwhile, the flames had fully closed in, sealing off the entire temple complex. Xiao Honglian turned her head, revealing her face. She stared coldly at the Brahmin soldiers ahead. Today, not a single one of you will leave here alive. Every last one of you must die. Flames shot skyward, followed by a furious roar that reverberated through the air, making the earth tremble. Roar! The Brahma mutants looked toward the sound, only to see a colossal fire dragon rising from behind the temple, its head lowered to gaze down upon everyone before it. The dragon opened its massive jaws, unleashing a torrent of fire that instantly reduced dozens of Brahma soldiers to charred remains. Gao Tianwu's dark face was etched with murderous intent. He murmured, "You shouldn't have been so overconfident as to come here." As he spoke, a silvery glow emanated from his hands. 5 roads of enlightenment, silver head enlightenment, amplified his strength. Gao Tianwu didn't even need weapons, for his fists alone were the ultimate tools. Like a devout monk, he charged into the Brahmin warriors' formation. Braving the dense hail of bullets from the Brahma soldiers, he moved as if through empty space. With a devout and compassionate palm strike, he brought it down squarely. Like an old monk performing a ritual of enlightenment, it made these sinners realize their transgressions. But when that silver palm struck down, the man's head exploded like a watermelon. The first full-scale deployment of the Volt Shadow Troop ignited a burning fields across the entire Sarah city. After Zhang Yi's relentless, expensive cultivation, even their weakest members now possess ability indexes at the deputy captain level. What they lacked was real combat experience. After this baptism, they would come one step closer to becoming true captain-level mutants. Xing Tian and Lu Dehai each led a few new recruits, hunting down Brahmin soldiers throughout Sarah city. Their objective was simple: kill every Brahmin soldier their eyes could see. Lu Dehai revealed his merman form, his forearms launching razor-sharp bone blades as he glided through the crowd like a dragon. Even in the air, he moved with the same fluidity as in water. The bone blades reaped the lives of one Brahmin soldier after another, showing no mercy. The entire southwest region was engulfed in war. On the great snow mountains, Yiksha and Maharaga resided within an ancient temple. Yiksha held his right hand to his ear, listening intently to his subordinate's anxious report. Upon learning of Huashu Kingdom's counterattack, he showed no sign of panic. Instead, he merely smiled and said, "Understood." Without a second thought for his subordinate's fate, he ended the communication. Yiksha was a strikingly heroic young man. His hair was tied in a topknot, his bare chest displaying clearly defined muscles, and his face radiated unrestrained abandon. He sat atop the altar, while Maharaga below meditated intensely on a cushion. "The Huashu Kingdom has actually sent forces," Yiksha remarked with a smile. Without opening his eyes, Maharaga replied indifferently, "Having just endured a great battle, they turn around and challenge mighty Brahma. The people of Huashu Kingdom truly lack wisdom." Yiksha sighed with some bitterness. "I deliberately spared that dog of the esoteric Tantra's demon god earlier, hoping they might show some restraint. To show them the generosity of my Brahma. But they insist on coming to their deaths. What shall we do?" Maharaga slowly opened his eyes. His pupils were a startling gray, an utterly terrifying sight. Since they come to die, let us grant them death. Yiksha burst into laughter. He retrieved a tuning fork, turning it over in his hand. With a flick of his left fingers, a crisp note instantly transformed into sound waves, reverberating through the air. The sound radiated from the ancient temple, carried by the howling cold wind, spreading to who knows how far. Not long after, this sound reached the ears of Zhang Yi, who was searching for their location. Is this a call to battle? A slow smile curved Zhang Yi's lips. He said to Liang Yu, let's go. Clean up this place quickly. We have more important matters to attend to next. Liang Yu said nothing. She was always a woman of few words, preferring to express her will with her sword. Zhang Yi opened the dimensional gate, and soon the two arrived before the great snow mountain. The moment Zhang Yi and Liang Yu stepped onto the snowy region, the melody grew clearer in their ears. A tuning fork vibrated, its crisp tones echoing from the summit of the great snow mountain, lingering in their ears. As Zhang Yi looked up, the intelligent system zoomed in, revealing the figure ahead. Upon the ancient temple, a youth clad in traditional Brahma attire sat lazily sideways, rhythmically striking a tuning fork in his hand. The sound carried for miles. Below the temple, an old monk turned, his expression devoid of emotion as he gazed toward Zhang Yi and Liang Yu. The second of the 8 tribes heavenly dragon of the Brahma pantheon, Yiksha and Maharaga. End this battle quickly. A sudden agitation rippled through the air. Across the vast land, a blizzard erupted, completely obscuring everything in sight. An ice elemental mutant? Zhang Yi remarked indifferently. The echoing melody still reverberated in his ears. Zhang Yi pulled Liang Yu along. Let's go. Attempting to halt his advance with a blizzard was undeniably foolish. Swish. The pair swiftly performed a space shuffle, only to find themselves still trapped within the endless blizzard upon reappearing. Nothing could be seen beyond the howling blizzard, raging like a pack of wolves. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi activated the dimensional gate again, propelling them forward for a second time. Yet upon crossing that gate, Zhang Yi and Liang Yu were startled to find themselves still within the blizzard's reach. Liang Yu remarked, looks like he's blanketed the entire area with this blizzard. This is going to be a problem. Zhang Yi relied on 2 things to judge direction, his own eyes and the sensing capabilities of his intelligent system. Yet within such a colossal blizzard, both would temporarily lose their effectiveness. No matter how vast the area he can cover, it can't exceed the spatial range I can reach. Zhang Yi dismissed this notion, though he had already used everything under heaven, to completely envelop all directions around him and Liang Yu. He could guarantee it. Even if a white bishop with 30,000 points of ability index came, they wouldn't break through his defenses. Still, this massive blizzard did present a certain degree of difficulty. This situation even reminded him of their encounter with that pseudo-underworld gatekeeper in Tianhai City days ago. Unfortunately, the person standing here now was Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi lifted his head to gaze at the sky, then continued activating his ability. No matter how vast Yiksha's ability range might be, he could swiftly depart. Yet after dozens of consecutive teleports, Zhang Yi reappeared still trapped within the blizzard. Only then did Zhang Yi sense something amiss. This can't be, he murmured. Even if he can envelop hundreds of kilometers in blizzard, this situation feels off. He glanced at his tactical visor. The intelligent system's prompt still indicated an inability to determine direction. Ding! The vibrating sound of a tuning fork echoed in his ears once more. Zhang Yi's right hand gripped Liang Yu as he lowered his head, deep in thought about the cause of all this. The intelligence archives of Huashu Kingdom held very little information about the abilities of the Brahma mutants. Every nation maintained top-secret protocols for their elite mutants, with security protocols rivaling the launch codes for the Reaper of Love. Thus, Zhang Yi remained unaware of the exact nature of Yiksha and Maharaga's abilities. But none of that mattered. The title Absolute Defense granted him ample time to decipher any enemy's capabilities. As Zhang Yi pondered the situation, suddenly the everything follows the trail gave him a dangerous warning. He whipped his head around. Somehow, the people beside him had changed. Liang Yu was nowhere to be seen, and instead, he was holding hands with the old monk, Maharaga. His right hand gripped a Vajra staff. Eyes bulging with fury, he swung it viciously toward Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's gaze darkened. He immediately tried to wrench his hand free, but his right hand felt as if clamped in a vice. The other hand clamped down on his wrist, refusing to let go. Boom! In that critical moment, divine refinement erupted from Zhang Yi's left hand. A massive canopy of leaves materialized before him, violently bulleting the charging Maharaga. After being flung back, the Maharaga charged toward Zhang Yi again with the speed of a cheetah. The Vajra staff in its hand emitted a dazzling golden light, rising like a golden sun in the sky, and came crashing down madly toward Zhang Yi's head. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. So it's an illusion? The sudden apparition before him stirred no panic within him. Another might have been thrown into a fluster. But not Zhang Yi. The chasm in their power was simply too vast. Zhang Yi's mind raced, his ability unleashed such intense light, yet all I see remains a blinding white blizzard. This feels unnatural. Moreover, my hand has been holding Liang Yu's the entire time. Even if the opponent possesses spatial displacement abilities, they couldn't have done this without me noticing. Most crucially, I know Liang Yu's fighting style intimately. This person before me is clearly her. So the ability isn't snowstorms, but an illusion. Having reached this conclusion, Zhang Yi chose not to retaliate against the Maharaga before him. If he accidentally fired a shot, Liang Yu would be instantly killed. Fortunately, his suspicions ran deep. Zhang Yi activated the Everything Under Heaven shield before him, blocking Liang Yu's attack. The Liang Yu before him seemed to flash a look of surprise and doubt in her eyes. After her attack was absorbed, she swiftly darted away to take cover in the distance. The sound of the tuning fork rang out again in Zhang Yi's ears. Ding! Zhang Yi realized the illusion was being cast through sound. He was already wary of mutants, as their abilities were notoriously difficult to defend against. Typically, they relied on light, sound, or scent to cast their illusions. Looks like they're using musical notes. Better seal off this entire space just to be safe. Zhang Yi made his decision instantly, stepping forward to stand directly before Liang Yu. Then, he enveloped them both within the Everything Under Heaven barrier. Dark Realm. The moment the words left his mouth, the Everything Under Heaven barrier seemed to be soaked in ink, transforming into a complete, absolute blackness. The originally colorless and formless dimensional gate now became a massive black sphere, standing tall upon the snowy region. In that instant, the entire world fell completely silent. Liang Yu felt her mind go blank. The face of Yiksha before her visibly shifted, transforming into Zhang Yi's features. Pressing her hand to her head, Liang Yu's dragon roar remained pointed cautiously at Zhang Yi. You're Zhang Yi? Who else could it be? That guy used an illusion technique, the perfect counter for muscle-bound enhancement types like you. Zhang Yi chuckled mockingly. The dimensional gate could isolate the two realms, yet under Zhang Yi's deliberate control, light and sound could still pass through. The Dark Realm, however, completely sealed off both worlds, blocking any external elements. Likewise, the Dark Realm had a massive flaw. Zhang Yi couldn't sense anything happening outside either. Liang Yu gradually came to her senses and asked Zhang Yi, "Then what should we do?" "Easy," Zhang Yi said indifferently.